everyone. Join me today as we just bring a little more love to the world. Everybody got a little something you can only bring. It's a battle, put it all together. Need every piece to make it complete, yeah. Every note make a symphony. Now the voices sing in harmony. All the colors of the rainbow shining. Everyone, everyone, say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes to a world with a little more love, a little more love. Oh yeah. Never feel you're insignificant, like a tiny grain of sand. What you do, what you say makes a difference. Go ahead and reach out your hand. Open the door, say hello. A stranger today, you might get to know him. A little love just keeps on growing. Change a life without even knowing. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. It takes everyone, everyone, everyone. Make the world with a little more love. Love, a little more love. Oh yeah. The same situation. The human race. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes to a world with a little more love. Love, a little more love. Oh yeah. Everyone, everyone, say yes to a world with a little more love. Say yes to a world with a little more love.
Good morning, and always in a state of gratitude to see each and every one of you here. My name is Reverend Richard Pacheco. Many of you know me as Rev Rich, and I am so grateful for you choosing to spend your next 45 minutes to an hour with me here as we go through our Sunday experience, our Sunday celebration, where we celebrate life together, learn together, open-hearted, open-minded, and as we come together in community. And as you noticed last week, we did change our flow again. We went from a shorter flow, less integration. I wanted more engagement. So I kind of returned. And as I always say, it's always great to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat. So we're bringing back a lot of more of the unity feeling of our celebrations and things like that. But again, as time goes on, we're going to continue to grow. Just like with ministry, I'm working on registering and doing things. My heart says to wait a couple of weeks just to see how things are going. And that's from a place of love. Now, there may be a little bit of fear, a little bit about missing out, things like that. But the beauty here is that I am coming from a place of love, wanting to know the right path that I'm taking to go. But the beautiful thing today is that we're also talking about love. And the title of the talk today is Love is My Decision. And yes, the same title as the name of the song that many of you have probably heard. If not, is by Daniel Namad. You will hear Alicia sing the song later. But that's the important part, is when we decide to tap into our power of love, how to react to the emotion of love. And there are so many versions of love. So we're going to talk about a few things today about that. So with that being said, as we get started in our celebration today, let me read you our daily word as we move into prayer. And our daily word for today is remembrance. And our affirmation for today is you live in my heart. Once again, our affirmation is you live in my heart. And our prayer for today is whether they are passed on recently or many years ago, the people for whom I have cared deeply are alive in my heart. If I feel sad or lonely for those I miss, I pause to recall a special memory or something unique about them that made even ordinary days feel magical. Reflecting on the love and joy we shared and the blessings their lives afforded me, I feel comforted. I am thankful that these memories will always be mine to treasure. I know that life does not end with death. Life is eternal, and my loved ones will always be beautiful. Beloved, and expressions of spirit, I am grateful to those who have passed from my life experience, continue to live in spirit, and are forever in my heart. And our verse for today comes from Psalms 112, verse 6. For the righteous will never be moved, they will be remembered forever. And as we move into a place of prayer, we sit here and we are grateful for being here today. We remember not only the loved ones that we have that have moved on and have transitioned, but the loved ones that we are here presently with, those that we sometimes kind of forget, and we allow them to kind of take a sidebar as we continue to try to seek and find what's somewhere else and forget to see that they're right here. And that's what this community is about, is to remind ourselves that we are here as a great expression of light, to give light to those around us. But that love between us is what's important. We know that, and we're grateful because we have this chance in oneness to share this love, not only through the power of love, but through the emotion of love and that feeling of oneness. We are grateful for being and giving us the chance to be divinely guided to be here today. But we know that we are given this opportunity every week and every day to make our lights even brighter, to make our lives even more abundant in all areas of our lives. And we are grateful that we are able to share those gifts with the people around us. And we know that the work we're doing is already done, because we say it isn't so it isn't, so we let it be. Amen.
Close my eyes, I open my heart, I'll take a deep breath, let the healing start. I lift my hands, I plant my feet, I let love in, I feel the beat that's calling, calling, calling us to rise, rise, spirit rise in me. I ready my soul, I clear my mind, I'm here and now, in present time. I feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark. Oh, we rise as one. Rise, rise, spirit rise up, rise in me. Rise, spirit rise up, rise in me, rise in me. I sing to you, you sing to me, change up this noise, make sweet harmony. Rise, spirit rise up, rise in me. Rise, rise, spirit rise up, rise in me, rise in me. Heart to heart, hand in hand, no turning back, oh name. Love is calling. That's why we came. Love is calling, calling, calling out your name. Love is calling, calling, calling. It's why we came. Oh, rise, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Come on and rise, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. Come on and rise up. Come on, lift your hands up, jump. Reach for the sky, go up high, higher, yeah. Rise up, come on, raise your voices, shout. Love is alive, we're bringing the light brighter, brighter. Rise up, come on, lift your hands up, jump. Reach for the sky, going up high, higher, yeah. Rise up, come on, raise your voices, shout. Love is alive, we're bringing the light brighter, brighter. Rise up. Come on and rise up.
And as we move into this time of meditation, let us begin to breathe in, knowing that this is how we rise in consciousness. We commune with God in this space, in this time. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and close your eyes, knowing that we are in this time and place, this present moment. We release all of the worry we have of yesterday. With every breath, we release the anxiety of tomorrow. As we take one deep breath, let us release the outer world as we move from the outer consciousness into our inner consciousness, that seat of the soul, that Christ consciousness, that inner chamber that we have heard so much about from our master teacher. And as we continue to breathe, we continue to see ourselves rising above all that is troublesome, that no longer serves us in this time, in this place. We continue to rise in consciousness, knowing that love is calling us, knowing that divine mind is just waiting to share all that is ours to do. We continue to breathe into this as we know that our light continues to brighten with every breath. And that all that we are and all the gifts that we have to give are contained in that light. Because as we breathe, it continues to expand. It expands from our toes up into our head, and outward onto our fingertips, and continues to expand with every breath. We are here today because we are divinely guided to join in unison, in oneness, in communion, allowing our light to become brighter, allowing our lights to be shared. We continue to rise in consciousness with every breath, knowing that with the higher thoughts held in mind, the more we realize who we are, the expression of all that is perfectly made. We know that at times we allow outer thoughts to give us a false sense of separation, but we are never separated. We are here. We are one with the source, with our universal energy, with God. We know that all that we breathe in is good. All that we express is good. We know that all that we do is God. And when We can see that not only in ourselves, but in the others that are around us, those that we encounter through our lives. We know that we are living as our greatest expression. And we know that even when we have a perception of falling away, we make that decision to choose love. We make that decision to live in love. We make that decision to live as love. We make that realization that we are love. So let's take a few moments in the silence as we sit with that realization that we are. As we return to this time and place, we know who we are. We know and affirm all the good within ourselves. We know that the light we share is good. And we move in love, as love. The work we have done here today is already done because we say it is and so it is, and so we let it be. And as we take a last deep breath, we blow into that light, which is love, allowing it to spread out through the universe. And as we open our eyes, we only see God in everything. And so it is.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
Well, as the song says, love is my decision. It's also your decision. It is everyone's decision. And that's what the theme of today is, based on the closing of our talks and how we can use the art and science of spiritual living in our everyday lives. And we understand that practicing in this art and science, that relationships sometimes play a big part of it. If you're married or you're, in a relationship, you know that things change because you work with two individualized people. And there's a lot of things that go wrong and there's a lot of things that go right. And it depends on who and how you handle it. So when we talk about love in this case, we're talking about that love and the power of love in that relationship. So today, we're going to talk about making the decision to love. Charles Fillmore says it best from his talks on truth. The one who made union with divine love through his inner consciousness, who lets it pour its healing currents into his soul and his body, is fortunate beyond all description. Of course, love is a choice. And as we make ourselves receptive or open to love, we look for love in every way, choose love, love points the way, and then the law moves into action to create greater love in relationships, greater love in our work, greater love in our lives. And today our mission is to choose love, to let it lead the way in our life that is lived fully. Now I know we're talking about choosing love, and we've all heard the song, looking for love in all the wrong places and things like that. But today we want to work together to find the way to make the right choices. So the three areas we're going to explore today is divine love, which we're talking about that higher sense of love, even that power of love. We're going to talk about tough love, and we're going to talk about sacred love. So when we talk about divine love, there is, a grounding point. And I love the words from Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind. He says, "Love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. It is written that God is love, and that we are his expressed likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation and the impartation of the divine through the human. We are that human experience of love. And despite, any of our past upbringing, again, coming from a traditional Catholic background, we remember, and we want you to remember to yourselves, that love for us is completely, totally, 100% unconditional love. Think of the moment, for a moment, what that means in you. When we say 100% unconditional love, how does that feel? There's no strings attached. There's no requirement. We don't have to be a certain way. We don't have to do anything to earn it. We don't have to behave ourselves to receive it. God's love is already given and is freely there if you're open to it. And many of you know, if you've been on our Unity of NEPA website, or even on Facebook, or just scrolling to find anything about Unity, there's a video of Maya Angelou speaking with Oprah during her talk. And in the talk, she tells her how she found Unity and who introduced her to it and all that. And she talks about how this person told her to say to herself, God loves me. And she says it again, God loves me. And she gets to the point where she breaks down in tears because she feels this unconditional love within herself. On how, when we talk about divine love, it is already flowing in and through us. Charles Fillmore, again, from Talks on Truth, says, "We may talk about the wisdom of God, but the love of God must be felt in the heart. It cannot be described, and one who has not felt it cannot concept of it from the description of others. But more we talk about love, the stronger it grows in the consciousness, and if we persist in the thinking, loving thoughts, and speaking loving words, we are sure to bring in our experience the feeling of that greater love that is beyond description, the very love of God." So I want to share a story with you that gives you a chance to feel the love of God in a more visual sense. So, his name is John. He has a wild hair, wears a t shirt with holes in it, dirty jeans, and no shoes. There was literally his wardrobe for his entire 4 years of college. He is a brilliant student and more than just a little eccentric. Across the street from the campus is a very conservative church. Its congregants are older, well dressed, and they may even be judged by the stuffy side of things. One day, John decided to go to church. As usual, he's running late. When he walks in with no shoes, dirty jeans, his holy t shirt, and wild hair, the service had already started. Not being shy and feeling pretty comfortable wherever he goes, John starts down the aisle looking for a seat. Now, the church was completely packed and he couldn't find a seat. By now, people are beginning to shift in their seats and looking a bit uncomfortable, but no one says anything. John gets closer and closer to the pulpit, and when he realizes there is no seat, he sits right down on the carpet. By now, the people are really uptight. Now, this may have been, you know, comfortable in a college setting, but usually not at a church. So we can feel the tension in the air is thick, and about the time the minister realizes that from way back of the church, a deacon is slowly making his way toward John. Now, that deacon is in his 80s and very dignified. He has silver gray hair, a three-piece suit, and a gold pocket watch. He walks with a cane, and as he starts walking toward this boy, everyone is saying to themselves, you can't blame him for what he's going to do. The young bum really doesn't belong here. He's disrupting our entire service. So I want to stop here and I want you to get that feeling. If you've ever been in a situation where you did what you felt comfortable for yourself, but others are judging you, how that feels around you. So you can imagine, even though this kid was comfortable in what he was doing, what he may be feeling. It takes a long time for the deacon to reach John. The church is utterly silent except for the clicking of the man's cane. All eyes are focused on him. You can't even hear anyone breathing. The people are thinking the minister can't even preach the sermon until the deacon does what he has to do. And now the deacon reaches John. To everyone's surprise, he drops his cane on the floor, and with great difficulty and very slowly, he lowers himself and sits down next to John, greeting him with a warm smile and a handshake. Everyone chokes up with emotion when the minister gains control. He says, what I'm about to preach, you will never remember. What you have just seen, you will never forget. A perfect illustration of God's love for you. You may feel misplaced or a misfit, but God doesn't care, and you are completely and totally loved. So just breathe in, that feeling. And this story illustrates it great, but how many times, if you're a social media person, you may see that there's an ongoing trend now of people doing things and helping people, and even though they say that we should never, you know, how do I say, we should never just put it out there, all the good things we do. We know there's a biblical verse that says, when doing charity, never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. But when we watch these videos, we get choked up, we get happy because we get to experience through the eyes of someone else how they felt being helped. And I know for me, a lot of times I wish I could be in that place at that time to help that person, but I know that I help in the ways I can and know that I'm doing the best I can to help someone else. Not because there's a reward, not because there's an expectation, but because it is the love that I'm expressing through me for another human being who's in need. And for those who've heard me say this before, check out the movie Pay It Forward, because you'll have a true understanding what it is when you give from the heart with no expectation and you allow the person to do the same for someone else. So as we move into our next section, tough love. And a number of years ago, we received a calendar that had quotes on each day that you could tear off, and one of them said, when we practice loving what is near, we get off the level of mushy sentimentality or abstract philosophy and sink into the soulful difficulty of actuality. So I'm going to say that again, and I want you to really take this to heart. When we practice loving what is near, we get off the level of mushy sentimentality or abstract philosophy and sink into the soulful difficulty of the actuality. In other words, loving what is in front of us is sometimes tough, and that is high and holy work that we can do. A wise spiritual leader once said that human relations are the intersection between what we learn spiritually and how we show up in the world. It is where we do our human homework, but isn't that what we are here to experience? So ask yourself, are you actually willing to meet this, embrace this, love it through to the other side? And boy, doing it is an art and a science. The Dalai Lama once said, "We all have friends, those people in our lives who are easy to love and easy to forgive." Then he said, "We have our sacred friends, those who call us to greatness, but who are very difficult to deal with. It is through our relationships with our sacred friends that we activate our own emotions." Van Jones, the founder of the American Dream Movement and the author of The Green Collar Economy, once said, "When it's harder to love, love harder." So here we are, and a few ideas of how to love someone. When you look in their eyes, look for the good. Look for what they do right. Ask yourself, what am I thinking about this person? Can I change my thoughts about the person and start thinking about what there is to love about him or her? Pray for their highest best, not for them to change to meet your needs. Offer them a loving gesture. These are all selfless acts. They are all mirror the love of the divine for us because we're acting from a place of love. It's unconditional when we can move into that place. In Real Love Work, author Joy, in his work, Real Love, Greg Bayers says real love melts monsters. So we have another story for you. But one thing we want to remember, as we talked about, if we are God's expression of love, then we're seeing through the eyes of love. And when we see and act through the eyes of love, we know that we are moving into a place allowing ourselves to see more than what meets the eyes. We release our perception and accept what is truth with a capital T in front of us. So let's share this story. An Amish man and his son were visiting a large mall. The first time either has been in such a place. They gazed at the bright lights and vivid displays with a mixture of awe and some distaste. They came upon a wall with two silver doors on it. Having never seen an elevator before, father and son watched as an elderly woman in a wheelchair pushed a button and the doors opened. She wheeled herself inside into a small room behind the doors and the doors closed. They watched the lights above the elevator go from 1 to 3, then back to 1. The doors opened and out came a beautiful 25-year-old woman who smiled at the man and his son as she passed. The Amishman scratched his beard for a moment, then turned to his son, Adam. He said, "Run home and get your mother." I've often been asked, how do you love others when they do not appear to love themselves, for example? They abuse drugs or alcohol. They don't take responsibility for themselves. They blame me for their challenges. They blame themselves outside or other people for their challenges. So what is the right action to take? How do we apply love in these situations? So of course, the basic tenet of our teaching is self-responsibility. And we've all heard it when I talk about radical responsibility, and we know that the Reverend Dr. Hasselbeck did a whole teaching on this. So when we talk about it, we must set boundaries at times, and only one person can tell you where those boundaries are, and that's you. So tap into your inner guidance system through prayer and active listening, and you will know. Then trust it and act. And when I say tough love, I've also shared this with you. I'm doing work with the Enneagram. And for those who know what the Enneagram is, I came out as an Enneagram 2. And as I continue to work on it and hear more about what the challenges are, what I need to work on, yeah, I get slapped with that capital T. And I realize as I look back the things that I'm missing. And I realize when I look forward how I have to open myself up and stop certain beliefs and certain practices to be able to accept what's around me. We look at the people around us and we do the same. And we want to truly engage in seeing other people with love. And also know that when we talk about people in love, is seeing them for who they truly are, seeing the good in them, seeing the God in them. And when we say namaste, that's what we're talking about, that inner divinity within ourselves has activated those God glasses. And you can see that divinity in someone else. Let's move on to section 3 of our sacred love. And when we spend a few minutes on what we're calling sacred love or romantic relationships, these certainly can be places for us to do a human homework, can't they? We all know it. The quick idea that we can serve and support you in your current relationship has, or in one you desire to draw your life. So that's where we're going to do today. Individual wholeness, relationship with God is the first thing we want to talk about. That romantic notion of love says that we can find the perfect person for us, then we will be whole and complete. We will find that person, we will fall in love, and we will live happily ever after. But romantic love has a spiritual basis. There is a craving within each of us for union, conscious union with God, our source, and we know that love is the power that creates the union, and our soul will not rest until we find it. But romantic love sidetracks us. Instead of realizing the divine love within ourselves, we project it onto other people, and others can never come up to the individualized standards of our love. Now, we all have those people who is like, oh, you shouldn't have gone with this person because they don't do, and they bring out a checklist. And then that checklist over time becomes your checklist. And then you start to push people away because we can't see the sacredness in that person. We don't understand how we were connected to that person and what lessons we have to learn. And it is until we go back to putting on those love glasses that we begin to see that. So we must realize that love is the love of God within us and not romantic ideas of falling in love with another person. Then we must embrace the love of God. When we do, we will become a whole person and our cravings will be over. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm going to diverse from this talk for a minute, but if you've noticed, there is more and more television programs on how to fall in love with people in all kinds of ways rather than just being you. And it's sometimes it's crazy because the ideal is there. There's a new Netflix show about people wearing furry heads so that they get to know the person inside and out without seeing what they look like. Could we not do that with all the drama and spectacular effects and all this stuff? Could we not just work on ourselves and find that divinity within ourselves to see that divinity in that person? We must come as a whole person, not something hiding behind a mask. Then sacred partnership is possible. I've shared my story where my wife and I spent so many years just pointing fingers at each other that it wasn't until we hit a point in our lives where we realized we had to stop pointing at each other and turn around and look at ourselves in the mirror. And only then could the sacred relationship begin because we can do the work for ourselves to come as a whole person and not just how do I say, a broken person or a perspective of being broken and trying to fix those things by filling it with someone else. So our roles, Barbara Marx Hubbard says from Cosmic Couples, a cosmic couple moves away from gender stereotypes and it is fluid movement depending on the needs at the time. Our roles in cosmic coupleship is that to ensure that our households is taken care of, children are raised, houses cleaned, meals are cooked, laundry's done, cars maintained, laws cared for, money's earned, bills paid, etc., etc. But it's no one's job to do that. It is our job as a partnership to do this. We must sort out who is best suited at the time, and this will shift and change over time. I always joke with my wife as she's working and I'm working. It's like I think it's time for her to become my sugar mama. All jokes aside, we each played a role as we grow. As our children grew, she took the role of the parent in raising our children and making sure she was there while I went out and made the money. Now, as our children are grown and are attending school, her role has changed. And not only is she working, but she's also starting a business and getting into that and working on herself. So the roles continue to change. So there is no the man, and I grew up in that. So I can tell you I'm guilty in that. The man goes out and earns the bread, the wife takes care of the household. Those roles continue to change, but when we can move away from those roles and know our place in that divine relationship is when things go on. So there is not equal sharing of responsibility, but rather an equitable sharing, meaning overall there is a balance. Yet at times it will be out of balance with one partner taking on more of the load. A couple having an argument over who should have coffee, who make the coffee in the morning. He insisted it was a woman's job. She said, "You're up earlier than I am, you should make it." The argument went on and simply couldn't resolve it, so they went on to the minister about it. The minister wasn't sure on this question, but he knew every answer, every question would be provided in the Bible. So he told the couple to come back in a week to give them time to research it. A week later, they returned at the appointed time, both on the edge for not having had coffee for some time now. And he said to the husband, "Well, young man, I'm afraid the scripture is clear on this one. It is your job." "What? Where does it say it at?" He said in disbelief. He says, "Right here." The minister said as he pointed to the books of Hebrews. All right, dad joke, but it still works. But that is not a cosmic couple model. I think one of the best talks I ever heard was from a rabbi. And he was talking about how the world has changed. And it's gone to a point, and this was many years ago, so imagine how this continues to grow, where everybody was so worried, about their individuality. And they come into a relationship with their individuality. They call themselves a couple, but they're two individuals sharing space. He said the problem is that we forget that when we come into a relationship, as it says here, the roles of a cosmic couple, that there's an interdependency. There's a spot, as it says, that we don't have a gender bias or anything else. We're interdependent on each other. Where I know my wife is great at this thing and she knows she does that. I'm good at something else and she'll come and ask me questions. I'll come and ask her questions now. And that wasn't at one point because we each had our individual beliefs that were ingrained to us probably from childrenhood. But when we saw and tapped into ourselves, we still have our challenges. We still have whatever. She still makes the best coffee. But we know our roles and we know what needs to be done. Now, do we fall out of balance at times? Of course we do. Everybody does. But the point is to recognize to be out of balance and to understand the person's role in our lives and understand mostly our role in our lives. And it's the only way we can be whole. So let's talk about the first thing, which is appreciation. Appreciation in a relationship is a very, very powerful way to tangibly show your love. Appreciation prevents you from taking your partner for granted. So I've been married over 20 years, and we have done, we each take our roles in doing whatever. And over that thousands of times that my wife has done something for me, I try to at least say thank you, if nothing else. And I show my appreciation in many ways to the point where she's gotten afraid to say things in front of me because I will try to move mountains to get her that little thing she wanted. because that's my way of saying thank you. It may not be grandioso, but it's a small way, a small gesture. But the best gesture we can do for each other is literally that: thank you. I text her today. She said she'll pick up something I needed. I said thank you. So I want you to get that into your head, because sometimes we come from a place of expectancy. Even with my children, my daughter will make me something, or my son will get me something and he'll hand it to me. The first words out of my mouth is thank you, because I want them to understand the power of those two words. Now, we do things for each other, and a lot of times, you know, a lot of times we only think about when things are given to us. We make sure that we thank you no matter what, because occasionally we do mess up, and we can still be grateful in those times. So here's another story. We don't know the author. It says it was a busy morning at the clinic. At approximately 8:30 a.m., an elderly gentleman arrived to have stitches removed from his thumb. He stated that he was in a hurry, and as he had an appointment at 9 o'clock, I took his vital signs and had him take a seat, knowing it would be over an hour before the doctor would be able to see him. I saw him looking at his watch and decided, since I was not busy with another patient at the moment, I would alleviate his wound. Unexamined, it was healed, so talked to one of the doctors and got needed supplies to remove his sutures and redress his wound. While taking care of his wound, we began to talk. I asked him if he had another doctor's appointment this morning, and he was in such a hurry. The gentleman told me no, that he needed to go to the nursing home to eat breakfast with his wife. I then inquired as to her health. He told me that she had been there for a while and that she had Alzheimer's disease. As we talked and I finished dressing his wound, I asked if she would be worried if he were a bit late. He replied that she no longer knew who he was, that she had not recognized him in 5 years now. I was surprised and asked him, "And you're still going every morning even though she doesn't know who you are?" He smiled as he patted his hand. He patted my hand and said, "She doesn't know who I am, but I still know who she is." I had to hold back the tears and left with the goosebumps on my arms as I thought, that is the kind of love I want in my life. True love is neither physical nor romantic. True love is an acceptance of all that is, has been, will be, and will not be. And the story takes us back full circle to God's love for us, which is unconditional. And is. We say God loves us, but in reality, God is love. And therefore, we are love. And we have to have the acceptance of all that we are, all that we have been, all that we will be, and all that we will not be. Teilhard de Chardin, the French monk and the 19th century mystic, once wrote, "The day will come after harnessing that either the winds, the tides, and gravitation, that we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in history, the world we have discovered fire." What if we decided to make that today? What if today we looked at the people we love and stopped taking them for granted? We know, and I'm guilty of this, as well as people have been guilty of doing it to me, where because we're a constant in the life, we tend to push people away for something new. What if we stopped and look at that divine love which is right there and appreciate it more every day? Little things as saying thank you, being whole to ourselves before we can ask someone to be with us, and know that we're sometimes going to be out of balance, but we always have the decision of being back in balance. So let's take this into prayer. And as we close our eyes and open our hearts and our minds, we know that we are in divine relationships. And those relationships don't always have to be between partners. It is a divine relationship with our source. It is a divine relationship with God, the universe. Whatever it is for you, as I always say, may the God of your understanding forever inspire you to be the best expression of itself in you, through you, as you. And today we talk about that expression of love. It is in our holiness, in our wholeness, that we are that love. And if we are in that cosmic relationship, we remember to find the love in everyone we run into, whether it be a friend and a sacred friend who may be hard to handle. It may be a relationship that you are in. Maybe it is you are a couple, your partner, your husband, your wife, whatever it is that you are in, that we see God in each other. We see the good in each other, and we celebrate that good daily. Knowing that even though we know that person is there for us, that we're constantly being appreciative and we're showing our love in as simple as the words of thank you, in our gestures and in our actions. That we come to understand ourselves as well as understand our partners so that we may be whole in this relationship. And as the rabbi said, we hold on to our individualities, but in a way that we bring that as a gift to our interdependency. So our independence becomes a shared interdependency between ourselves. And I can tell you that as I think of my own relationships, I am grateful. We share that gratitude with everyone in oneness today. Whether it's a friend relationship, whether it is our romantic relationship, whether it's this oneness through technology, for all that hear this talk today, we are grateful. And so it is, and so we let it be.
A stray bullet and a mama cries. Her baby won't be coming home tonight. Sirens screaming down the avenue. Just another story on the evening news. Oh. Politics and prejudice. How the hell it ever come to this? When everybody's gotta pick a side. It don't matter if you're wrong or right, no. And so it goes. But I hold on to hope and I won't let go, 'cause I believe you and me are sisters and brothers, and I believe we're made to be here for each other, and we'll never fall if we walk hand in hand. But a world that seems broken together again, I believe in the end, love wins. Sometimes it takes a lot of faith to keep believing there will be a day when the tears and the sadness, the pain and the hate, the struggle, this madness will all fade away. I believe you and me are sisters and brothers, and I believe we're made to be here for each other, and we'll never fall if we walk hand in hand. But a world that seems broken together again, I believe in the end, love wins. Love is power, love is smile, love reaches out, love is the remedy, love is the answer, love's an open door, love we are sisters and brothers, and I believe we're made to be here for each other, and we'll never fall if we walk hand in hand. But a world that seems broken together again. Yeah, I believe in the end, love wins. Yeah, love wins. Yeah, love will, love can, love still, love wins, love will, love can, love still, love wins.
And as the song says, love wins. We constantly understand that within the power of love, when we see through the eyes of love, we know that all is great. We know that we're in the right place in the right time, and we're sharing that love. We're recognizing that love in everyone. And we recognize ourselves as love. So, as always, this is a time where we give you a chance to practice gratitude in giving, as our website's down below, where you can give to this ministry or if you're giving to any ministry. And we want you to take your gifts in your hand, whether you've already given it or if it's an electronic version or whatever, and virtually see it in your hand, hold it to your heart, and say, Divine love, as me, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I circulate, and the realization of who and the all that I am. And so it is. And we bless that the work it's doing is going out there. And I am grateful for you being here. Join us next week as we begin a series called Back to Basics, which will be going on throughout the year as we return to the basic fundamental teachings of unity and other luminary masters to help us become the best of who we are. As always, I love you. Nothing you can do about it. And let us end together as we say, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us, and wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And remember, we are God's greatest expression, so when you go out there, remember who you are and what you came here to be. And I will see you on our next celebration.